Hello, everyone. I'm David Kotz, the founder and president of National Safety Training Center. We're a public safety training agency covering the East Coast of the United States, and we're rapidly expanding. We're planning this show, which we're calling the Lifesaving Chronicles. We're going to offer it twice a month, about 30 minutes each. We're going to cover a cool variety of topics. We're going to hit current events, teaching techniques, curriculum, what to do, perhaps what not to do as well. And by life saving, let's clarify. We mean we're focused on people who teach CPR, first aid, water safety, lifeguarding, and EMT type stuff. We've got our first few shows already planned, but we want to invite you to participate. If there's a topic that you want to see reviewed or an incident that you want to look at, we're happy either to assemble our team, our experts will review what happened. You can send us whatever you got. We can integrate it into our show, and we can either evaluate it on our own, or we can bring you into the fold as well. You can explain maybe what you saw or what happened from your perspective, and then we can evaluate what went well and perhaps what you could do differently next time. Since this is the first show, I want to cover some background information on what our business is, National Safety Training Center, where we came from and how we got to where we are now. All right, let's go back in time. In 2004 is when the first predecessor organization started. That was Brook Search and Rescue. It's a not-for-profit corporation with two kind of focuses. One was actual water-based search and rescue. And then in order to fund that, we offered first aid and CPR classes. We were the first kind of water rescue organization in Somerset County, New Jersey. So all we did was water rescue. We were competing with, in theory, other fire departments and rescue squads, and we didn't want to kind of muddy the waters and do the same kind of fundraising that the fire departments were doing. So no boot drives, no raffles or what have you. So that's why we decided to do CPR classes. Pretty cool. The nice part about water rescue in particular, other than the fact that it really didn't exist so much in Somerset County, was the incidences are very few and far between. And for the most part, we can kind of plan ahead to see them. We know when water rescue is going to happen. When there's a storm coming, for example, we can stand up our units, embed them with local agencies or what have you. We can basically be ready. So for the first year, we concentrated on training our volunteer staff and acquiring the necessary equipment so that we could actually provide service. We probably taught 12 classes in that first year. Kind of cool. As we increased our CPR training business, also added lifeguarding courses to the mix, mostly in the summertime at outdoor pools in and around Somerset County. This both enhanced our ability to do water rescue and provided revenue so that we could acquire more equipment and training for our members. After about year 4, we separated our response function, our emergency response function, from our education function, and thus was born Elite Tactical Academy. Technically, Elite Tactical Academy was a wholly owned subsidiary of Brook Search and Rescue. About this time, we also began to work for several major CPR training organizations on a national basis. These guys had huge contracts with Fortune 100 companies. We got busy. So we went from teaching 12 classes a year to, at our high, we were teaching 12 classes a day. And we were teaching from Maine to Maryland, all the way out to Pittsburgh. So it was very, very busy. It allowed us to grow rapidly, to get equipment, to train more staff. And that was a good thing. As the level of our revenue increased, we were able to acquire several rescue boats, an emergency response trucks to tow the boats, and a lot of associated equipment. Our fleet grew. So we ended up having both a 20-foot rigid hull inflatable boat that was designed for offshore work. So it was capable of going in oceans and in surf zones, and it was a very capable boat. We had a 15-foot inflatable that was with a jet drive, so a 40 horsepower jet drive engine. That was our boat for lakes, ponds, rivers, that type of thing. We could use it for flood responses as well. And then the third boat we had was a 12-foot inflatable boat that didn't have an engine on it, but that was used primarily for flood responses. Our fleet, our vehicle fleet, also grew appropriately. We ended up having 2 pickup trucks, custom rescue truck, a Suburban, and then 3 Volkswagen Jettas. These were the diesel-powered ones. They were all the ALH engine, which is, if you're a Volkswagen geek, it means something to you. If not, not so much. But these engines would get 50 miles to the gallon. As you can imagine, and when we're going from Maine to Delaware teaching classes, that makes a difference. So as our instructor traveled through the areas, they had a fuel-efficient vehicle. Some highlights from our rescue work. Our rescue teams helped with several notable events in Somerset County. There was a flood in Somerville where we embedded both our equipment. They didn't have a boat in Somerville at the time. So we provided them with a boat and several rescue techs. And we were helping them pluck people out of second-story windows during a bad flood. That was pretty cool. We got some good press. Nice. The second one was there was an incident on the border of Hunterdon, Morris, and Somerset counties where there was a vehicle that was pinned up against a bridge in flood. Basically, it was a river that had flooded, and the vehicle entered into the water as they shouldn't. And there was a person trapped in that vehicle, and that was pushed up against a bridge. So we actually responded with a boat and several rescue techs, along with several other agencies that provided boats and rescue techs, so forth and so on. Ultimately, the rescue wasn't made by swimming or with a boat. We ended up using a front-end loader that was much more efficient and able to do the jobs. Sometimes you just have to think outside the box. Back to our CPR business. We continued to grow and grow, and we were teaching, numerous classes. Ultimately, the company that we were working for that had these contracts with the Fortune 100 companies, they sold themselves. So it ended up being a venture capital funded company that took over. What happened was they had a kind of a different way of, they wanted to organize things in a different way they wanted to run the instructors. So our kind of exclusive territory in the Northeast United States went away and our contract ended. So we had to pivot. So now we began offering open enrollment CPR classes and teaching more lifeguarding classes, including in the winter times at some indoor pools. We added water safety instructor classes. We were able to transition from a company that basically subcontract all our classes, where we weren't the contracting agency, to an agency where we were the contracting agency and we were holding almost all of our own classes. Within 2 years, thankfully, we were back at about the same revenue levels. We were doing pretty good. At the same time, we established some new training sites. So we had a facility in Easton, Pennsylvania now, which is where I'm talking to you today. Here we have our business offices as well as a dedicated classroom. We can teach classes here 7 days a week. We offer a great variety of classes of our Easton, Pennsylvania area. We also partnered with a number of other entities in Somerset and Morris counties. Wilkie's Warriors in Bridgewater, we hold classes there on Mondays. Blue Titan Fitness up in Rockaway, where we hold classes on the weekends. And Burnsville Parks and Recreation, where we hold classes on alternate weekends with Blue Titan Fitness. And lastly, we continue to offer classes with a community service organization in Burnsville called Community in Crisis. That brings us to current time. Once again, we're back teaching with the pharmacy industry, with those Fortune 100 companies. That venture company that had acquired the national contracts ultimately sold out again. So we are back in that mix. So we're teaching at the pharmacies and several other big box stores. We continue to operate our own open enrollment classes for basic life support, advanced life support, PALS, lay rescuer stuff, which is Heart Saver in the American Heart Association version. We also offer EMT continuing education units. So that could be anywhere from pre-hospital trauma life support to tactical combat casualty care to umpteen other ones. We offer a large suite of those classes. We do that not only in New Jersey now, but we've expanded our offerings. Now we have a toehold in Orlando, Florida, in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, in Metro Los Angeles, California, and in Missouri as well. We have really started to expand, mostly East Coast, but we're kind of going west as well. I became an emergency medical technician instructor last year, and we're hoping to hold our first EMT basic class in 2024 here in Pennsylvania. So that's kind of the history. That's where we've come from. That's where we're at. So now we want to take this program and talk about, again, education process for people who do life-saving work. So again, instructors who teach first aid, CPR, lifeguarding, water safety, EMT. And we'll talk about both the instructor level stuff as well as we'll focus on some of the provider level incidents to see if there's an instructor issue that we can bring up and modify our instructor classes to address those issues. And it may not be the formal class, but maybe some in-service training that we can use as well. So what does that mean? Again, twice a month, half an hour at a time, we'll be here on this channel talking about these issues. You can contact us anytime. Email address is info@nstc.net. Our telephone number is 908-502-0060. Lastly, again, welcome to YouTube. I want you to like this video and consider subscribing to our channels. Set the alerts so that you know exactly what we're on. We'll have everything linked below so that you can check it out, and we hope to see you again for future episodes. Thanks so much.